Alrighty, so today we're going to talk about the Bruce Arena New England Revolution saga, and I think this deserves a video because this is just as crazy as the saga that we saw that involved Greg Berhalter and Claudio Reyna, or should I say the Reyna family saga that we saw right after when the World Cup is over and involved the U.S. Soccer Federation. And what's crazy about this one, unlike the one that we saw back in January, we still don't know exactly what the answer to this. I mean, there is still a lot of question left of why exactly Bruce Arena was forced to take an administrative leave and now basically forced to resign his post as the sporting director and the head coach of New England. And there's also a lot of speculation about the situation, and it also involved with his staff too. And that it's not just the fans that demand answer from this whole situation. The players are also demanding answer from this whole situation, and yet the players are not getting answer, the fans are not getting answer, and the league just also are involving in this, and they're trying their best to sweep this under the rug. Now, today in this video, I won't talk too much into the speculation, though we'll definitely get into it as the video goes along, and we'll talk about just kind of like the timeline because this thing all started back in August. It actually happened during the Leeds Cup on August 1st when there was a news broke out that Bruce Arena had to administrative leave toward an inappropriate remark. They didn't exactly say what the inappropriate remark is. That's literally what New England basically said, and they said that Richie Williams has to take charge on an interim basis. Now, just a week later, Caitlin Cow, one of the MLS analysis and one of the person that is part of MLS 360, he basically made a remark, or actually, it's not he, it's she made a remark about Bruce Arena using a racial remark that at this time, New England says it's inaccurate, and because of the fact that she kind of broke out about this, the league was not happy about that, and a little bit later of what her consequences is because after she made this remark, she hasn't appeared on any Apple TV shows or haven't even appeared on an MLS 360 show because of it. Now, on September 9th, this is when we heard the announcement that Bruce Arena officially stepped down as the head coach and sporting director of New England. This, of course, happened right after the Minnesota and New England game. Or actually, I think it happened during, and they talked about a little bit about it. And again, this is not a big surprise because you just kind of had a sense with just so much mystery that is going on. It feels like it's getting to a point where maybe Bruce Arena might actually decide to step down and resign as the head coach of the team. And then, of course, on the 11th, we saw that exactly the punishment that Kalen Cow basically did to reveal something that maybe New England and MLS didn't want the public to know, and basically suspended her about a month because of remark about Bruce Arena. And what's kind of interesting is that if you read certain speculation, and there's a lot of speculation that is going on, but if you read certain speculation, you would say that Caitlin Cow, she kind of got punished by MLS wrongly by this because I mean, I guess she can't leak information that she's not supposed to do, so that's why she got punished. But at the same time, it's kind of harsh the fact that she kind of told the truth. And again, this is based on certain speculation. If you think Bruce Arena is at the wrong, and he actually did use some bad remarks that triggered this whole investigation in the first place. Yeah. So at that time, she of course was suspended for a month, and there's question whether or not if she is going to be returning to the Apple TV team. But on the very same day, all the players also have said that they refuse to participate in training. Now, what's kind of interesting today, there was a report saying that from Matt Polster saying that the players didn't actually refuse to participate in training. It was actually the players and Richie Williams were agreed to refuse to participate in training. Either way, one thing that I'll also say throughout this video, and I'm going to say this a lot, there's a lot of conflicting sources. There's a lot of conflicted sources that are kind of contradict each other, and that I'm gonna try my best in terms of telling breaking down in terms of these timeline. But at least in this source, it says that all the players refuse to participate in training because they again they along with the fans are basically left under the dark. They don't know what the situation is. They're not happy the fact that Bruce Arena left this team, and that there's even speculation that Richie Williams is in the wrong. There's speculation the fact that he was the one that is the mastermind in terms of launching this coup and just basically kind of did the same thing that we saw Claudio Reyna did to Greg Berhalter. He decided to reveal some information that could get Greg Berhalter in trouble, and that seems like Richie Williams is doing the same thing here. And again, the players had some mistrust with Richie Williams because of that. Now on September 12th, New England they have named another interim head coach, and again with the way that Richie Williams was also involved in this, you just had to feel like he wasn't going to be the interim head coach anymore. And it was announced that Revs 2 head coach Clint Pay will be their new interim head coach, replacing Richie Williams, which his status is to be determined. And also, the other assistant coach of this Revolution team is also going to be replaced, and I'll talk about in just a bit who they are. In fact, where is my phone here? Of course we'll read a statement in terms of this whole thing in just a bit. But the other thing I kind of want to mention is Tom Bogert and how he actually released a tweet yesterday that I really want to mention in this video talking about the timeline of the New England Revolution yesterday, because yesterday, it's not very often when you have the media reveal a timeline of a team daily activity, unless if something is very crazy that has happened during the day, and that's exactly what happened on September 12th for the New England Revolution, as Tom Bolger basically reported. So, he says that at around 8:40 in the morning, there was a meeting between the players and the president of the New England Revolution, Brian Bielil, and the HR department of the New England Revolution about the Bruce Arena situation. Now that meeting lasted for a very long time. That meeting lasted about 3 hours, and it seems like they didn't really get to anywhere. The players and all the front office was meeting, but I had a feeling something tells me during that meeting, as much as the players are just trying to find the answer, the front office basically refused to kind of talk about it, and that kind of is the same thing once we get into 12:30, where the refs have their press conference. Richie Williams attended it, and I've heard that there's a source saying that every time when the media is trying to ask about the situation about Bruce Arena, and hope that we can get a little light in terms of this answer, Richie Williams basically just kind of deflected, just kind of like what you see with some of the players and even some of the head coach. They kind of deflect the question. They kind of say something else and just kind of refuse to kind of break out what actually really happened. And as much as that sounds like no, that sounds kind of wrong to me. I mean, with the way how this situation is handled out, with how the refs and MLS is not really want to release exactly what happened. I mean, Richie Williams has no choice, and really, all these members of the front office and even the league itself has no choice. Well, I'll talk about how maybe they could have had a choice to do so in a bit. But yeah, Richie Williams, he basically said nothing about it. Carlos Hill was supposed to speak to the media, but he did not in the end. And then also at the same time, the players met with technical director Kirk Onafor, which I have a feeling it's probably going to be the same thing as what we saw with the earlier meeting, where Kirk Onafor also doesn't really reveal anything to the players, despite the fact that the players wants answers in terms of what exactly is going on with this situation. Now, around 3:09 p.m., the Athletic basically report that there was actually a strife between Williams and his assistant. And again, this is where we get to the situation of the speculation of, well, it seems like Richie Williams kind of launched this coup, and that his assistant, probably very loyal to Arena, they're probably not very happy of how Richie Williams has handled this situation. In fact, there is actually reports saying that his assistant, there's been multiple times where this is not, how talk about the players kind of walking out and the staff walking out. It's not the first time that has happened. There's been reports saying that his assistant multiple time has walked out, and even one incident where they had to be separated because of just some bickering that is going on. And then around 7:45 p.m., it was announced that the Richie Williams, the Revs interim head coach, have stepped down, and he is replaced by Clint. But there is still to a question about Richie Williams and his status. I mean, they didn't mention exactly what his role is going to be. They just said that he's being replaced. They don't know that if he's still with the New England Revolution or not. But this is where I'll basically talk about this statement that the refs basically released because this is, of course, right around the same time that they released the statement, and the statement is that they have announced that several personnel changes to the club coaching staff. Clint Pay, head coach of Revolution 2, will serve as the interim head coach effective immediately. Marcelo Santos, the assistant coach of the Revolution 2, will also join the staff as the assistant coach. In addition, the Revolution have part way with assistant coach Dan Van Denberg and Shalere Joseph. So those are the two that kind of bigger heads with Richie G. Williams, and basically the Revs kind of had no, don't want any part of them. Paid 49, bring more than 20 year of coaching experience to the position. He has compiled a 34, 36, and 16 record over the fourth season as the head coach of Revolution 2 since his appointment to the role in November 20th, 2019. And then they started talking about Clint Pay and his coaching career, and also they also talk about the assistant head coach Marcelo Santos in terms of that. But yeah, basically they released a statement, and the statement was really just kind of a coaching change rather than answers of what exactly is going on. And then today there was something that maybe kind of give us a little bit of a hint of who was at the wrong here, and that of course is that today there was a sources saying that Bruce Arena actually made his coaching staff sign an NDA, also known as a non this a close agreement. Now, normally when you decide to make your coaching staff sign an NDA, you probably did something that you don't want the media or even the league trying to do. And that again, I think that maybe is kind of the reason why the league is trying their best to sweep this one under the rug as long as possible, and the Revs are basically trying to say nothing. But yeah, that again, when you see that, that also kind of now brings back the speculation of, well, it looks like maybe it's Bruce Arena here is in the wrong. Maybe he actually did say something that is very bad to a point where the league doesn't want to do that. And then this is where we get to some of the big question that needs to be answered, and maybe I could also kind of give some speculation about why exactly the league is trying to sweep this under the rug, because up to this point you haven't heard what my speculation mostly is about. And of course, some of the big question needs to be answered, and I'll try my best in terms of being answered in terms of this question. The first big question is, what was Bruce Arena remark all about, and whether it's true. My speculation that it is true, and that it's probably something that is very bad to a point where the league decide not to review it. And then this is where we get to the league itself, why they're not giving no information about the situation. Part of that might be because of the non-disclosure agreement that Bruce Arena forces staff to sign, but also, maybe the league and Bruce Arena might have reached an agreement. Because one thing I didn't mention is that the league and Bruce Arena, I think John Gabbard have met with Bruce Arena, and they actually had a discussion about this. And whatever discussion they had, probably it is something to do with the fact that, hey, let's try not to put this in the public to make a black eye on Bruce Arena. And I can understand why maybe the league trying to protect Bruce Arena and his image, because Bruce Arena, he's such a legendary head coach. He's gonna go down as probably the best head coach, or one of the best head coach in MLS history, and all the accomplishment that he has done in the league. And really, I would say that he's kind of considered to be a pioneer of American soccer in general. But this just feels like it's a huge black eye to his legacy, to a point where MLS maybe try not to release too much information about this, so that they can put a stain on Bruce Arena legacy. And then, of course, I think the other big question is, what's the point of trying to hate this saga under the rug? Well, that's kind of what I've said about maybe trying to protect the legacy of Bruce Arena and just kind of play it out. Now, obviously, the counter argument to that, and just for people that are very frustrated why this is under the rug, they're gonna make the argument that, well, the longer this sweep under the rug, it's not gonna really change anything. Like, you know how when when you have like a company and you're trying to hide something under the rug for so long, there's a reason why whenever a company has to deal with like a PR nightmare, they're trying to release the statement and trying solve it as soon as possible, because the longer this rolls out, the image of the company from the public is not going to be very good. So that's why you see multiple times they try their best to make change as quick as possible, so that things will resolve. By dragging it longer, it just makes it even worse and worse, and that's where I think there's a legitimate argument that is the case about this situation. The longer this drags along, the more frustrated the fans are going to be, the more frustrated that the players are going to be, and that this doesn't really help anybody. I mean, I understand that they're trying to protect Bruce Arena legacy, but at the same time, do you really want to have this thing drag so long to a point where Bruce Arena is just going to have a stain in his legacy too, because of all the speculation that is going on. Like, there's getting a point where we're talking about more about the speculation of Bruce Arena that might end his legendary coaching career, than rather than his accomplishment that he has done throughout his legendary coaching career in MLS and to American soccer in general. And then I think the last thing I will also mention in terms of this, because I think as I'll do a news of the week episode probably tomorrow. There's going to be some new information that I'll talk about, and maybe I'll do another follow-up video about this, because this thing changed every single day. Like, every single day, there's some new information that really changed the story and makes the story even more dumbfounded than it should be at first place. I want to also look at New England and their next 5 games. Now, despite all the turmoil that is going on off the pitch right now, when you look at where they are on the pitch and in the standing, they're still very good. I mean, and this is where I got to give a lot of credit to the players, and that, playing with all these adversity that they've been facing, the fact that they're still in the top part of the Eastern Conference, currently in second place in the Eastern Conference, is nothing short of a miracle. They have a 13-9-5 record and currently have 48 points. They've scored 46 goals and allowed 32. Now, obviously, lately their performance has kind of stagnated a little bit, and I wonder, is that a lot to do with this situation? And there's the off the field situation, because if there's one thing I will say about the off the field situation, it can definitely creep into the on the field situation and the performance wise. But for New England, I'm pretty sure they're not gonna miss the playoffs this season. I think they have like a 16-point buffer above the red line with 7 games to go. I mean, even if they go lose every single game from now to the end of the season, they're probably not going to miss the playoffs, because of how the how, when you look at the standings, and how teams that is just above the red line fighting for those playoff position lose games or draw games every single time. The Rams are probably guaranteed to make it to the playoffs. Now, obviously, when they do get to the playoffs, they're probably not going to do much, because, again, it's not very often I say a team that finished very high in the standings, and that they're probably going to flame out in the first round, and it feels like it's going to happen, because of the way that, besides the off the field situation, this team has been dealing with a ton of injuries, and they've also just lost their best goalkeeper in Georgi Petrovic, which I wonder, with Georgi Petrovic, you wonder, he did get his move to Chelsea eventually, and that, New England did get a bag for him because of it. But how much is that because of the fact that Georgi Petrovic won nothing part of this? Like, I have a feeling he's, I mean, I don't think he's been asked about this now that he's with Chelsea. But if you ask him, it's gonna be interesting to see whether or not if he is going to say that, well, I want to make it my move to Chelsea right now instead of later in the season, because of this whole crazy situation that is going on. Because, for a while, I always thought that Georgi Petrovic probably was going to stay for New England for until the end of the season, and that it just kind of sounds crazy, the fact that you lose one of your best player and your best goalkeeper in the middle of the season. But with this whole situation that is going on, I wouldn't be surprised the reason why he decided to leave and want to go to Europe as soon as possible is that he want no part of this situation. And I wouldn't blame him for that, because I feel bad for the players and all the coaching staff, and even some of the fans that are just completely left in the dark because of this whole situation that is going on. But in terms of looking at their next 5 games, they got Colorado on the road. So they didn't train this week, so this is going to be interesting now that they have to go on the road against Colorado in altitude. I mean, that's going to be rough for them, and I would not be surprised if they lose that game to the Colorado Rapids because it's one thing the fact that you didn't train because of the whole situation, but it's another when you do go to altitude and you didn't really train for a couple of days. That's going to be really tough on the body, and I wouldn't be surprised the Rapids could pull off an upset. Which I mean, do you want to say it's an upset at this point? Then they of course play against Chicago, which I misspelled Chicago there. Got the old here. Yeah, they go on the road to play against Chicago. They play Charlotte, then they play the Columbus Crew. Both of those games are at home, and then they go on the road to play against Orlando City. So the schedule is not that hard. I mean, at least in the next three games, they face against the worst team in the league, that is the Colorado Rapids. Then they face against the Chicago Fire team that seems like they're imploding in September, as it always the case. And then Charlotte, a team that's also fighting for playoff position until they do get some tougher teams like Columbus and Orlando. But again, with this situation that's going on off the pitch, it's kind of hard to focus on whether or not if they can go deep. I mean, if they can go deep in the playoffs, if, maybe the players will rally around Bruce Arena and do it for him. Maybe they can go on a deep run, but it's hard to ignore this off the field situation. And again, this is gonna be a changing thing every single day, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in the news of the week episode as this story goes along. But yeah, let me know in the comments below what do you think of this video, and let me know in the comments below also your speculation about this whole situation. Who is exactly at the wrong here? Because right now I don't think there's really any right answer in terms of this situation unless we actually get a statement by New England and also the league of what actually happened that made Bruce Arena has to force to take an administrative leave and eventually resign from his post. And even when we do find out this situation, I think there's going to be a lot of cleanup that needs to be made. I do think that I talk about some teams that are going through a nuclear kind of change in their team or even their front office because they're having a bad season. I would say New England probably could do the same thing because I have a feeling after the end of this season, a lot of players are not going to try to resign with this team. A lot of players that maybe are have their contract run out the end of the season, they want no part of this because and I don't blame it because why would you want to be part of a team that refused to give you an answer about this whole situation and left you in the dark to a point where you're just so frustrated because of this that you want to play somewhere else. And again, this is where I go back to Georgi Petrovic and that maybe his answer of his instinct of going to Chelsea isn't because of the fact that he want to make his move right now to make his jump to Europe, but more like he does not want any part of this whole situation that's going on behind the scenes. But yeah, let me know in the comments below your speculation about this whole situation. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I will see you guys next time.